I just realized that I royally messed up. So things didn't exactly go as planned with my custom library wall. What should have been a quick and easy final step last week turned into a bit of a setback, but you know what? These things happen, and today I'm gonna show you how I fixed it and what I learned along the way so I can bring you the full DIY video later this week. I'm back this week at the Dear All Year house, and if you caught my vlog last week, you would have seen that I came to seal these bookshelves. I thought I was using water-based sealer, but I accidentally used oil-based sealer. I worked myself up in a tizzy. I was in an irritated mood the day I was getting the sealer. It turned into a whole thing, and I ended up grabbing the wrong one. And in my haste to like finish this project, I ruined it. I ruined, not the whole thing, I ruined the paint finish. So I figured out how I'm gonna remedy that. 220 grit sandpaper, sand like just the finish off of the top of it to give the other products something to stick to. And then come in with a primer to prime it and give good adherence to another layer of paint. And then reseal it with water-based sealer. This here in the red, I didn't end up sealing all of these. I just did all of the white and then this shelf in the red. And the way that it affected this shelf, it just made it a little bit darker than the others, which I like. So I'm only resanding the white and doing water-based sealer, whereas with the red, I'm going to finish all of them with the oil-based. I'm here today to fix my mistakes and get this project moving. This 220 grit sanding block did a great job at just getting the surface layer of that oil-based sealer off. It worked super well, and I just sanded it over all of the white parts that I was going to be repriming and repainting. After sanding, I had to remove all of the dust before I could seal it. Unfortunately, when I wet dusted, it took off the paint along the edges of the shelves, which is why we're sealing these in the first place. So that meant I had to touch up the paint on these edges before I could seal them. After wet dusting, I actually waited an extra day to make sure that there was no moisture between the shelf and my next coat of paint. So I came in and touched up the red paint, and then I came in with a foam roller and applied a coat of oil-based sealer on all of the red shelving that had not yet been sealed. It's been a couple days, but I did get all of the red sections sealed because I did the first coat on that one and I used like a nap roller rather than a foam roller. It has a more even coat and it seems like it was more well coated, whereas the 4 Bs that I did the other day, I don't know, you can kind of see with the light there, but they're a little bit more streaky. I did them with a foam roller instead, and I feel like the roller soaked up so much of the sealer that now on that, it didn't like dispense as much as the other roller did. So I think I'm gonna need to go in and do another coat on all of these, not just because of the streakiness, but when I come and like touch the shelves, I touched this one versus the one that I did before, and this definitely feels like a more like a solid, thicker finish. Like this has more protection than this does. If I run my fingernail across it before where the paint would have scratched off, it does not come off now. However, for durability over time, I think a second coat is gonna be the best, but I won't do that today unless I end up having the time. I don't know that I will. I'm here today to prime all of the white pieces all around, prime and repaint those to let that cure for a few days before I come in and seal this with the water-based sealer. And glittery shellac-based primer would work. I was looking up like what to use, and it kept saying bonding primer, and when I looked up specifically whether or not this one would work as a bonding primer, it said it would. Another brand that was really highly recommended is called Sticks, like glue sticks, because they have sticks spelled the same way, with the X at the end, but we just have this one on hand, so I use this one, and I've worked with this one before, and I know that I like it, but that was a really highly recommended one also. This still isn't really showing up on camera, but the one on the left is primed and the one on the right is the one with the oil-based sealer. And you can just see how much yellower with like a green tint that oil-based made it look. You can see that line right there on that center stile, and it just was not it. So that's why I'm going through this whole process. If you haven't been able to see prior, hopefully this shows a little bit better than some of the other shots. I ended up doing a total of 2 coats of primer as well as 2 coats of paint. After getting everything fully primed and repainted, I could go in and remove the painter's tape. Removing this tape felt so good, not only because it means that we were back at the point we were before I messed up, but also the last time I took tape off of one of these painted surfaces, it peeled the paint right off. So the fact that I'm taking this off without the paint peeling means that the sealer is doing its job and protecting the paint from chipping and peeling. Okay, it's been a couple days. I am now back. I have some nap rollers. When I say nap roller, I mean like these little like fuzzy, feels like fur rather than like the foam roller. I was talking the other day about how I used on the far end a nap roller and then on the rest a foam. I'm here today to do the rest of the oil-based coat on the red parts, and then on the white parts I'm doing the water-based coat. So to begin with, this is what I used, this Minwax Hellsman Spar Urethane in the clear satin, and this is what I should have used. They look the exact same, the only difference is right here on the water-based one, it says water-based. So, and then the top of the water-based one is like a black plastic, whereas this is the metal. So this is the difference between how they look. So I'm using this one. It doesn't say oil-based on here, but it is oil-based because this one says water-based. A tip that I saw somewhere online is with your nap rollers, to help remove dust from them, you wrap them in your painter's tape or masking tape or whatever, and then you just spiral it around and then you undo it, and that helps to remove some of the dust. That was one thing that I noticed when I did the oil-based on the white parts, is that there was a lot of dust and like pet hair and stuff that was getting rolled on with it, and it was really hard to pick out. And part of it was just from my roller. Part of it was from dust being on the shelves, even though I did dust them before. But I want to eliminate as much of that as possible. So I'm gonna try out that trick, and I will try to remember to report back if I notice a difference or not. You can see here that the water-based sealer looks very milky in the can. Comparatively, an oil-based sealer has more of an amber color to it. Looking at water-based versus oil-based sealers, water-based sealers tend to be safer, they're non-hazardous and non-flammable because they don't have high levels of VOCs. They are more eco-friendly and they tend to dry faster. However, they don't always last as long, they're not as durable as an oil-based sealer, and they typically require more coats. Comparatively, oil-based sealers require fewer coats, they're more durable, and they have a longer lifespan, meaning you don't have to reseal it as soon as you would a water-based sealer. However, they have high levels of volatile organic compounds, so they're not as eco-friendly and they're more toxic to your family. They typically take longer to dry and even longer to officially cure. And as per my example of using it, they can affect the color of the surface underneath the sealer. This typically tends to have a yellow color, and it tends to yellow more over time. Okay, initial review as I'm doing the water-based sealer. It's applying much smoother than the oil-based did. It's just like a thinner consistency. And with the nap roller, I don't have to re-dip the roller into the sealer as much with the nap roller versus the foam roller. I'm using less product and it's giving a better, more even coat. So 100% recommend the nap rollers. And so far, as far as the dust goes, there hasn't been any dust yet that I've noticed rolling into the sealer like it was before. So that's good. Water base is working much better. However, the oil base for the surfaces that are gonna get the most use, the most rough on them, I'm glad I did the oil base because it's gonna provide a better protection for these red ones. After applying 2 coats of the water-based sealer to all of the white parts, as well as a 3rd coat on that bottom shelf, I then brought the doors back to my house to sand with 220 grit sandpaper, just like I did the shelves, to get the surface smooth and ready for primer to attach to it. I then also dry dusted and wet dusted all of the doors. Welcome to my basement in the least creepy way possible. Of the 10 doors that I have for this project, I have 5 of them ready to be reprimed, repainted, and resealed. I think I honestly only have enough primer and paint left to do about half of them. So that's gonna work out that I can get half of them knocked out today and half of them knocked out on another day before I go to reinstall them. Now, the biggest problem I had with these the first time I sealed them was dust. And I know I talked about the other day when I was working on the bookshelves, taping the roller beforehand and removing the dust that way. And that worked really well. So I'm gonna do that again. The only difference is I know I said a nap roller worked really well at applying these products, but I am on these using a foam roller. And that's just because there are some more crevices that I need to get down into that I think the foam roller is going to do a better job at that. Also, this is a storage unit at the moment. I'm very excited for our basement renovation, but that's going to be like years down the road. Getting this cleaned up and getting it roughly usable at some point is on our list of things to do within the next couple of months. But as far as a makeover on this space, it desperately needs it, but it'll be a while before I get to down here, unfortunately. Just like on the built-in itself, I did 2 coats of the Zinsser Ben shellac-based primer, 2 coats of the color Creamy by Sherwin-Williams in a satin finish, and then I went in with 3 coats of the Helmsman water-based spar urethane sealer. All right, the priming on these 5 doors is done, and I didn't even have enough primer for these 5. I luckily had another like small container of it to be able to finish these. And that'll probably be enough to finish the other 5 too, honestly, but I do not have enough paint, I think, for even these 5. So I'm gonna have to run to Sherwin-Williams to grab that, which is good because my back was hurting anyway leaning over those. So I appreciate the break that I'm taking. I'm gonna go grab that paint, finish doing all these, and then the next time I see you, I will probably be putting the doors back on the cabinet and it'll all be done. It felt so good to finally get these doors back on this built-in and to officially have it finished. I'm so excited to share how I built this entire built-in with you. So make sure to subscribe and like this video and come back later this week for the full DIY video. Until then, I'm wishing you all my best.